Tashidele, Khenchen La, Kembula, Chuponla, Lamala. Welcome everybody to this wonderful teaching. We're going to start the Gongchig teaching with Khenchen La. So before we start, we will do my mandala offering.
Hoàn toàn giải thoát khỏi những ràng buộc của chân và huyễn, siêu vượt danh tự và các thứ của sinh, diệt và trụ, siêu vượt đến và đi, lấy và bỏ. Mandala tối thượng chính là cảnh giới tâm nguyên sơ. Con xin dâng cúng tất cả và qua đó nguyện con được gia hộ để đạt tới cảnh giới Phật. Completely liberated from the clouds of real and unreal. Just setting the names and attributes of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may be placed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Dakini Ratna Mandala Pratisha Sokha.
Sanje Chudang Chojin Chonam Lai Chanchu Pandu Dani Jebun Chi Dagi Jinsu Jibi Chonam Rola Penchiri Sanje Rubur Shui Sanje Chudang Chojin Chonam Lai Chanchu Pandu Dani Jebun Dagi Jinsu Jibi Chonam Ji Rola Penchiri Sanje Rubur.
Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Manamka Danyambe Sanjin Tamjin Deva Dan Devin Judan Dembran Churunche Dunga Dan Dunga Jin Judan Jevara Churus Dunga Mebe Deva Dan Mendra Churuje Niren Chadan Yidan Churve Dan Yumla Nebra Churuje Manamka Danyambe Simchen Tamchen Dewa Dan Devin Judan Dembra Juru Je Dunga Dan Dunga Jen Judan Javaran Jurus Dunga Mebe Dewa Dan Mendra Juru Je Niren Jadan Yidan Jurve Dan Yumla Nebra Juru Je
All other sentient beings, boundless in the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Changze wadan jujin shabadan jizu yerang gurjin surwa ye gewa jungze dagi jisab tamje zobe chanju chenburu.
Whatever slight virtues I have accumulated through prostration, offering, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and requesting, I dedicate it all for the sake of complete enlightenment.
Sajim buju jujin medo dhamma shirvan jenye de jimbande sanje shingla mide purvai Drugun namda shindu jumbar shu kusu yungto lame zonam lai chenma sansun tejin yejin dalu longju nangsi yongchen la lame choge ngarandu su umen gurun dewa dragin Rena mendala bardeza
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountains, the four continents, and the sun and the moon as a Buddha field. I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha field. To the lamas who possess the three fires, offer the outer, inner, and secret offerings. With my body, wealth, and all that is visible, please grant me the supreme realization enlightenment.
Samje namje sambadang loye jeda jedrawa jejong tumo tebaye jujeng gulo guldu su.
Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicle, and the teachings come unto both according the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
Khenchen kuruwe jensu jesaran shinkara gawa le zhuran zebe gaji rinpoche ye jeba nambra tawe jenjen chenlap je chujun jesu chenpe yendra se me she jen manam ja chewa yung lungwa rin je zhube zhubje chenma mebe lama tamba nungla chan zarjen che do jesun chewa shinje labran ze do su dojin chewa de lo naro da marmeda bapa rin je tenga korin sumden zawe lame 자주 라마 예담 주송라 소르반데 소다 주신 제로 전쟁가 다든 바도 산제 간들망아 바른 라마라시라 투지란 제달베 남든바 용대신이 남나 그장 라다 삼미명제 왕보다 저진라조 주제 전화 자와 제반남 산제 송라 럽시진 대외 주주르바 대단 체제 담배 주님 바양들 식시 남가다님 베슨제 탐지게 된도 도질라나메 브라양 타브로조 산지지 공부한 담바 진행 도브라자 대제도 담배 추성과 대바당 삼바 bombegonen 주버지고 님베 삼바 천준초도 레버사던데 셈브르슈 텔란데 간식 셈브르 제베 추데 다탐주 공부지고 좀 어때 쉬워 제베 갑든지 임바레
With the motivation of like to attain the Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings as vast as the sky, and in order to receive the teachings of the Gongchigs, and practicing and meditating the Gongchig teaching. So with this kind of meditation, kindly listen to the
다드네 남주 나저드네 추라 단주베갑 세브로와 갑숨로와 당부 퇴바 바르도 삼바 타마곰바스 투삼곰숨 세게로 다티인도 자네 드네 디갑라 뇌기 쩐숨 광고레스 남주 송거로 당가랑주 추 룩사겐 누나신로와 추데 두즈다우레 근데 두즈데 룩세겐 누나신데 나랑주레 디인도 자네 뇌데 야고지 여바이나 두즈데 초란조 요마레 베트나신도 나랑소기 주데 야고지 여바이나 근데 주되기 제우 조금 미야당 어다 주 텔라테네들이 펜데 자침부터 투야 어든지 용거여와 띵도 전에 주 코란경 원에 양다바지랑 짱마 어든지 레디 이내 아랑속에 되는 주디 짱마 마차와 있나 그냥 주기 펜토용야 디스 갈레 카본로지 용거에 송거여와 근데 인도 전에 여기 쩐숨 세야지 광고래 에스는 송거여래 띵도 전에 등에 쩐숨이 제일 마슈인
in order to listen to the teachings of Dharma. Usually it talks, there's a saying that talks about the three faults of the container. And whenever you listen to the teachings, we have to be free from these three faults. And like, for example, the teaching is like a nectar. The Dharma teaching is like a nectar. And even the teaching is like a nectar. If the container is not in a condition to receive the teachings, then it is not like a favorable condition to receive the teachings. So therefore, from here now, I'm going to talk about what are the three faults of the container.
다들 뇌기 쩐숨 세인도 전에 되네 주 년백값수 되네 리바 dimne 메뉴와 네 카부바도 준 스타케 생각도 뇌지 여바이나 되네 두스지 루고요나 뇌데 마 법제바이나 디나라 디가나마지 다 두스이나 리고마이나 카르루바이나요 뇌기나 티바지 용투마와 그 뇌데 마 법제바이나 디나 신전에 되네 다단디 나와면 대바스 추기 식당 추기 되나 되지 리바 제지도 때문에 미님바 하셔야지 여기 전 담보디 카브 받아고 전 써야 되는 바래
So the first fault It's like when you listen to the teaching, not listening the teaching like with the attention or attentive. So what happens is when whether it's a nectar or whether it's a nectar of Dharma nectar or whether it's the milk, if you don't listen carefully with the attention, then it's like putting down the cup. In the same way, it doesn't matter how you pour the nectar or milk on the you pour on the cup, it will not contain in the cup because the cup is put upside down. So therefore, in the same way, if you have no attention for what you are listening to, then this would be the same causes of not having understanding whatever the nectar of teachings is given.
다들 네 주연 숨가르는 남준 배차ትን 수나라 출라 투바 집에가 주연 숨는 송도와 또 단단히인데네 종고 파모 주베 송만한 신신 슈인 대인도 전에 카부바세 주연데 근데 파모 주베 가르 송베르스는 것도 출라 투바 집에 값수 너 카부바 난신 주연데 방고레스 근데 간대고 그래서는 너에게 나라 주지 루구요나 너데야 카세네 딱 야고와 난신체네 먼저 출了투바 집에 값수 네 배지 나와대 쪼고 디돌파 년토같이 지구레스 띵도 전에 투백이 쭌너 카카바다고 투발레는 소용구요래 파무주베
So like there like when we talked about the three kind of like the fault of listening to the Dharma teaching. So here I'm going to start quoting the Pamadrupa's statements. And what he said was that so when we are listening to the Dharma, we should always open our ears or open up for, in the same way that like a cup, which is open up and which is empty and open up to receive the whatever is poured in. So whatever the teachings is given, So if there's no like kind of attention, then it's not possible to have that teaching instead.
데네 다 니바데 가서는 출라 다 당부 투 나도 추에도 투바 제바 짬지 팽이 말와 맨나 맹게 드네 지 펜트 맹게 사당 맹게 라레 또 가서 암초고 권에 하고 지구 팽문도 대인의 상다대 하고 저베지는 현저위기를 가르고나 양내 양도 매제바 다동문에 지 맹사보 하고야라 삼농망부 당구로 이난신 전에 다 투바 제백이 된다 디도라 되는 삼농당구다 왜나 텐줄 니에가와레스는 송연도 전에 주역에 나다 텐줄 니에가we 좀 생망부 송거여와 다들 투여제베지라 되는 주 소소로 죽잖네 왜나지 니에가당데 간대지네 유유돈에 간대 니에가오렌도 되네지 다 텐조 간들지 텐줄 니에가we 토라 아 삼식지구로와 나서 고와 지구 팽마로와 대인도 전에 다 니바데 갈고스나 삼바 세르고로와 줄을 대바 삼바스 다 삼베 값수 쩨 가르방고레 세도 전에 네 샵들어 나신게 쩨네 방고레 송거레 네 샵들어 세도 전에 먼저 다 오만다고 지다야나 두선다고 지 루고요나 디 네데 샵네마 이홍메와 네데 빼지 쩨가야메 가지고 그러와 계세야 지 수르도 안에 이홍요나야 오마치로 된루레 두제치로 된루레 네 샤는 있는데 배지 제 말하고 정말 된루르와 디나신 지류산에 되는건도 줄을 삼바집을 값수 가르고서는 양내 양도 되는 거래스 지주야요 말레스 네 샵들을 기준 나지 내 빵고래스 대마도 내내 암초는 주고 네 니마 징니지를 고지 낭미 당샤바이나 네 샵들도 기준 차송하고 디인도 전에 양내 양도 쌈네 어야 디지털 전에 되네던데 네 셔들도 그쩐데 300가 광고에스 어떤 대신 300이 쩐데 네 셔들도 그래스나 손바래
And the second fault is like we have to avoid like a kind of the container which has a hole below it. So what happens is when there is a hole below it, then whatever you pour in it, all will leak down and it will flow down. It will not contain. It will not protect the water or whatever in its container. So therefore, it is given here during the time of the listening and during the time of contemplation. And the second one is during the time of contemplation. One should avoid the fault, which is a hole on the container, and like we should always reflect upon the what is listened, what one has heard, and we should, in order to deepen the meaning of that, one have to think over, contemplate over it again and again, and try to furnish the teachings that we have. Otherwise, if you don't do that, and in the same way, like the container which is whole, it doesn't matter how much you pour in that cup, everything will go away, strain away. So therefore, the second one is to avoid the container which is whole, the faults of that.
Tene sumba, ta jun sumba tere, jun sumba de karsana, nu dukchen tawe jun sumba re. Ta nu dukchen tawe sayin de zane, nu jing nang la, kesi duk ze jing gui de yun na, du ze yu peke nu ji na. Ta di nang la, du zi lu na yang chola re, wama lu na yang chola re, kandar kala se, kandri da jing pe shimbu kandri ji, yabu kandri ji lu jewa ina yang, ta nung saya la, peche pento mewa cha tsarwa ko du degin nu pala tene. Di indu zane, tene, chue la, gomba chibi kapsu, ta nunga pama chebe, gomga kapsu sumba re. Gomga kapsu, du yubegin, nu nanshi pangure sundu zane, kare sumba resana, tene, ta tangbo be tunda de sam be tunda de gom indu zane, tene, churang la yube, ngaransu susu la yube, nyemungi nyembo la tada, roto bachi sogu res. Mato be nyumungi nyimbo lan ro mato ba ina churanchi gomba ina yate no du yebe nana kala lu jeba na ji chanu res ti chi du zane tene ko ji beta ya tombo cha chen ge tawa gongu yuna re yana jerem ge la gongu yuna re yana tene tenjur nye ka wala so gongu yuna kare ina yang kadar gomba ti so so gu jure yebe nyumung pe gi nyimbo lan ro tu ba ji so gu res. 근데 nyumongi nyembola masongwa chene gongi nyumong chere ndoya chöla tuba chegi nyumong chere ndoya la soba chungsungwa ina tene ma phembare esti indu zane gombe kapsu nyumongi nyembola tada ndo tuwa chi zogu re sana te sumbadila.
The third default is that one should try to avoid like that of the container, which is like contaminated with kind of poisons, and like if there's a kind of substance which are the poison in the cup, doesn't matter how much you pour the nectar, or how well you put the milk in it, it is a kind of waste. So it's not helpful to drink, or it's not proper to drink. So this was actually put in the terms of the meditation. In the terms of meditation, when you're doing meditation, as per the Pamadupa stated that when you are doing meditation, so that time, whatever you practice, whatever you receive the teaching, first, listen to the teaching, then after that you contemplate to the teachings, and after that, finally, when you do the meditations, whatever the meditation you're doing, it has to be directly opposing or directly going to strike your afflictive emotions or your ignorance. Otherwise, if it doesn't go it doesn't work it doesn't serve for the antidote to the emotions or ignorance, then it doesn't make any sense. Whether you are doing like a practice of Chaja Chambo, which is the highest practice, or kind of like a generation practice or visualization or whatever the meditational practice you do, you have to be free from this kind of like a fault, and whatever you practice should go directly striking your ignorant mind and to be purifying your ignorant minds. Otherwise, it is no use, like same as this kind of the container which has been contaminated with the poison or whatever. So therefore, whatever you do, the practice then sometimes what happens is rather than clarifying or purifying your mind, you become more emotion, like afflictive emotion there, more anger or more like kind of aggressive, then it shows that it doesn't help. So therefore, we have to avoid this kind of container. So this means to help yourself more purifying, more stronger, more peaceful, and more on the path to the liberation.
간다라 근데 줄라 투삼 곰 숨세야다 되게 숨기 qabla 근데 전 넘버 숨보데 다 뽕고래 세트네 직 숨가래 대인데 되는 간소 지다 녀모 뽕 세는다는 레라고 시야 레라고래 되네지 문에게 님부 대인도 자네 와야데 칼에 가보요로 가서 녀모 봐도 토마 매반에 건데요래 님부 던서는 간소 테스트에서 모두 코미요 말에 대인도다 강 두둑지네 되는 배준 전에 와다 여기 좀 쓴다 저와지 제고래 선들지 송바래.
So then when we talk about the listening or putting the practice into the Dharma, so they said, when you're listening or contemplating or meditation or the practice, one should put these three kind of the practices into a day-to-day life practice. It is easy to say from the mouth, but when it comes to the practice, it is not that easy. It's not easy. That's what easy to easy to do as it is said. But somehow, because because of our previous lifetime, like infinite lifetime that we have been having, like a kind of we're actually having this kind of experience for many lifetimes. So therefore, it's a kind of our ignorant mind. So it's not easy to avoid for the time being. But somehow, we should try our best. Up to which extent is that possible for us to do that?
되는 간소 녀모 공약이 탑라 담 배준지 지긴 삼개로 가서는 것도 동해 방고와 인상 대체도 전에 되는 녀모 공으로 지발라 되는 남중 가르송 거에서나 뒤쪽의 돈에 뒤의 돈에 녀모 공약이 님보 된다 저단 쟁게 돈에 녀모 공약이 님보 된다 그래다 가 만다와 뭐 숨도 다른 것도 지 간디 돈에 탑럼 간디 돈에 야도 따겠다 되는 공부 요리 뒤인도 전에 지단 가서나 녀모 봐서야 돼 나도 줄에 쟁도 전에 네 때문도지나 나도 제기와 하고 뭐도 다지 니 두번도지 레비유나 다 배제 때문 쉽진보 용게 레서야도지 레마도베 문에게 남주 지단 예배게 때문도 나도 제기유면 하고 뭐도 이나에 제대기로와 된도 때문에 하모고 통제 용요래 되는 뇌차다 시단이 되오지나 나랑서 로봇 진행이 번다고 진짜 제용요래 왜나 시단도지나 미니 펜션들이지 다 봐줘 주반도지 쇼 근데 용도 전에 다 나당 미신다니 보든 주 용도 전에 나기 잡라 시단들 내용을 그제 나라 로봇 진행이 번나 신신의 시단들 내용을 아이네 시단의 제세를 지라서 뭐 지고당 지근데 용고 말에 대해 이나 용 시단 지 임백가더라 두분 나신 진의 제 용고요 대인도 전에 대양 뭐 시야 디스칼레 카보다와 시단데 된 대창한다고는 대래양 칼레 카와래 대인도 자기 로벤 아리안데가 송도와 로벤 루두고 소마로와 대창 자민 잔다와스 대차서야 돼 저런 그 좁은 거네 말에 대해 이네 줄이 찌는도 전에 문에게 좁고 야분이 많아지 진짜 찌는 그래스 어떤데 송발 대인도 전에 나서 녀몽 찌는도 아직 찌기 예받은 모신 앞에 갈래카 보러 와 다 이나야 제데 이나야 드리지 줄라 퇴바나 삼바 곰바서야 다 된대기 탑람게 좀 발라 때네 퇴베 녀몽마 띠스 좀 거는 투바 삼베 델레양 녀몽바 슈치왕 거는 투바 곰베토네 녀몽바 때네 받는 지 조도가 지야다 된대기 좀숨 되네 지 송용 거요와 어디인가 전에 되니지나 다지 녀몽 제야테 벨레 라워임바 지기 예바 하모고와 어다 된대지는 용인데 근데 된속이 님볼라 주의다 연구를 선택해 준 거로 나도 주두고에 좀 생각을 배치 된속인 게 있어요.
Now, when we talk about the three different kind of abandoning the faults of, it's because of like how we try to avoid the afflictive emotions. there are many different kind of methods how we can avoid the afflictive emotions, sometimes through the like kind of listening to the teachings, and sometimes looking up to the condition of the causes and the conditions and so forth. Usually these are all in order to try to avoid the ignorant, attachment, and hatred. So usually when there comes an ignorant mind in ourselves, it is very difficult to understand. If it is very difficult to realize, like when you sleep, it comes like an ignorance, so forth. Like for example, ignorance happens within oneself, arises within oneself without knowing how it happens, and at the same time, the attachment and hatred happens as if it comes to our support, like uh, behaving like kind of supporting oneself. For example, if you're angry with somebody else, and the hatred comes to be like kind of supporting oneself in order to defend others or something like that. In this, though at the time of defending yourself with hatred, it is not happy, but it seems like it works as a support for you. So it's difficult to understand or difficult to notice that it's an ignorant thing, and at the same time, the attachment is even more difficult to understand than compared to the hatred. So because what happened is here, the attachment comes as like a kind of a friendly or supportive or complementary to you or whatever. So for example, Aryadeva, he stated that the attachment comes as if friendly to you, being friend to you. So therefore it's very difficult to understand what are the ignorant and what are the things to avoid it. Therefore, there comes a three different categories how to avoid these kind of all emotions and afflictive emotions or ignorance. First, listening to the teachings, and secondly, contemplating to it, and thirdly, how to eradicate from the truth. Then we need a kind of meditation and so forth. It's not easy, how it did all the ignorance were coming up. It's very difficult to understand, but somehow with the contemplation of with the listening, contemplation, and with the practice of meditation, it will be slowly it's possible to eradicate this kind of ignorance. Lasu.
Tene tenajin ta nyumong jewe tu zuyu toni ngu samo tangyo gu zane lobo ariyan dewe kare sombarsana pena Nyima chigi nangla cha jawa ina ta chidangda pe ngiba tembo rang yo ma reyna jiyong ge chane Nyima ge ngadru ge chanra uji ina temu gu shuk chenbu yongya ge tu zu res tende yinza ngadru ge chala temu ga nyimbo tenya de shuk chewa nanggu res na song yongdewa tene pena Nyime gong ta tende la jiktengi leka mambu jiga shu yungdu zane tene yang ji leka mambu tang samu mambu tang yungdu tendegi jenchebe towane tene shedang de shu chewa legres ta jikchena peche drogo toondu zane shedang shu chewa yungruwa tijidu zane kandar Nyima kongla shedang shu chenpo cheya tusu tende jigres tendu nyingongge chala zo nyumamba shedangi nyimbo de ta ji zoba saya de tenyala tablam mawa zogu res tene yanji chedu gumu ge kamre ojin nyamamba chakbe ge samde jeya ge tusu shu chigres tende indu zane nyako tedan tumbe ndecha ge nimbola tene bezon cheya de kechin bores wo tene sumbare te indu zane anganzo nyumo jeya ge tusu kande yimin tenso yang ngebe tona yang ko nimbo je temba ina tene ya tes ji nyumo la kade chakto we nyumo kwanya ta nyumo go no ya la pento shu chewa yungruwa pena tene yerkegi tutsula nganzu jaagi ri tenzu dapo yabu jabu urwa mato kun charwanda uchi posungwa yina yaad chula changu urwa tene ya gunke kamda uchi ko tutsula tungu zane zamagi ri tenzu dapo yabu jabu urwa tena xin chene ngaranzu julu yube nyamungi nyimbo tela yang tuyu sumgi tuwana tene shu chechungi wada nyimbo tenya tene yungre sumba tengu ta tenzu di zidanganzu namjun tangu shenpa che shene tene ya chik ti tola this tablam do ji live to what you want ya bo yoruba o thing that the re.
So now here, like for example, how to like kind of facing the ignorant mind in terms of the time. And what it is says is generally what the Lord Jigten Sungin stated is that like in the morning time, usually the ignorant mind is very powerful. So therefore one should focus how to avoid the ignorant mind, as because you feel sleepy or whatever in the morning time is quite dizzy and something like that. But in the afternoon is like kind of we should be careful about the hatred and anger. Why? Because in the afternoon with the many activities of many works, usually what happens is one easily get anger, and at the same time it's like sometimes we get hungry, and it's easily when we are hungry, little bit hungry, it's easily you get upset and angry. So therefore here in the afternoon time, it's more we should apply the kind of kind of perseverance, kind of patience is more needed in the afternoon. And whereas in the evening is more as like kind of attachment, because when we the time when it becomes like in the evening, so usually what happens is attachment comes more in our like a human like kind of human experience. So therefore with the time we should able to put some strike to the ignorance or afflicting emotions. For example, in the time, for example, in the summer, when the rainy season, we need to protect the iron stuff. What happens is if you leave the iron stuff in the rainy season or in the rains or in the water, it will rust. It will rust, and easily it may be damaged. But whereas in the winter time, like we should protect about the kind of the pottery things, pot which are made of pot, because of the cold and like very and like kind of frost, the pottery thing will be easily damaged. Therefore, so we need to protect the pottery thing in the winter. In the same way, so with the three different kind of timings or the duration timing. So one should have to know how to apply for the ignorance and also for the attachment in the afternoon. Attachment in the evening and the heart rate in the afternoon. So this is how one should apply in terms of the time and duration.
Wada tende chi tene ta tere nganzu Gongchigi tene dorsong de kasan tene dorsong dunpa padu shurwa ta tere dorsong jebarwa dorjesong jebare ta tsumsumbe nane ta ndela kare songwara sana tongwe juye ma tongwa yu se songwarwa ta ndi song yundu zane jidang tene nganzu ta kasan tene domba soso tarwa domba jula tsu Lene yongdu zane domba korang ngo de kante chigre sungdu zane zogo karsana dachi ndushi sebarwa zambe rangzu yang sungre namba riji mayimbe zu yang sungre ndona tene nga pena chi genye yin zambe gin ndushi nga tene gelong yin zambe gin ndushi ta tende gin ndushi de tsam ngun se tuibo yungre ta yung pena tsengna iku dewe kamdawo china tende gin ndushi ngun juruwa de yomarate 이나 고랑게 누반다고지 요되게 요되게 전에 강한데 텐데지가 domba스는 숨바와 다 텐데고 dom바데 아주 줄어서 톱네 파 똥와 세르와 파 매와 차야 야데 간데레 소는 그 전에 되는데라 지단한테지 자기 중텐선한도 양 송당 만다와 망보요레 근데 교육인 개발 텐선야 지술 만다와 망보레 티인도 카시게 소는 그 전에 베나지 dom바데 되는 거죠. 개념이 도만도지 뎀베 칸사지 이나 다 주랑한테 니마지가 매직세 샤와이나 테라테네 주랑게 개념이 dom바 차상 매와 차로레 소양도다. 대나신도 테네 계시 주랑한테 단디다. 개념지나 텐데기 개념데 다지 산이 심푼으로 되잖아요. 신으로 되잖아요. 그냥 줄을 유백이 있는 게 같은 상황 동로를 소양으로 다 대신에 송담만을 말하면 뭐 유발해. 대인도 전에 지금 성공을 가르쳐 거였으나 근데 또 조대 가상 공도 돈바스야 돼. 두시지게 통해. 조치는 로고 유도 전에 근데 문내기 300개 톤을 주는 돈바데 파지 동의하기는 대반적으로다. 근데긴 대바식 친구 돈에 근데 내가 논주다. 제기지 중앙이나 다 돈바도 동로를 마도베 지당 거지 심표송아 잠지 뭐가 창로 말에스. 근데 인자 돈바 동에 주스네 시에야 등주 그냥 근데 강사라 제버린 거에스. 강사 카시에다 지금 삼로근 방향 슈충종 근데 지금 돈바라야 구시합당 돈바라야 남주 지 가서 지송 된다기 싫다 맹킹도 지나 그리고 심표 가서 동 세바레스 대마도 문내게 넘어 송야긴 되바이바 근데 지금 송에게 샘데 만년바이나 다시 왜 같은 소가 있는데 너무 어떤 거 말해서야 대송을 뒤인도 전에 동해지 뭐 동만 요새야 대송
We come to the point that the 8 Vajra verses of the vital points of individual liberation, with the causes for losing the vow, it also happens that they are not lost. So, like for example, last time we have talked about the how we receive the vows and what are the like kind of the nature of the vows or the characteristic of the vows. So, for example, like kind of when we receive the vows of the Novik vows or whatever, and in the sleep when we are sleeping, it is said that so our vows is there, but not in a kind of a very obvious manner, but in a very like a in a lower in a like kind of in a very embedded manner. Our vows are there, and also usually in Tibet and also like in Tibet and also in the Indian scholars have stated a different kind of like the vows, how it is maintained and how it is avoided and how it is one dismiss how it is dismiss your vows and how you get into downfalls of the vows. So usually they say sometimes like for example, if you dismiss the vows or you lose the vows when you die, or sometimes they said when you lose the vow when you do the actions, the non-virtuous action or whatever. So whereas here the Lord Gyaltsen stated is that, so for example, unless and until if you have a heart from yourself, from the pure heart to protect your vows and to observe your vows, it doesn't matter even if you die or like even if you die, or for example, even if you kill somebody else, being a like kind of novice monk, if you kill somebody else, but you don't have a mind to kill that person, if somehow in the act it was killed, in the same way, like when you die, it says you can lose your vows, but somehow the Lord Gyaltsen stated that if you have really have a good heart to protect it, and at the same time you really want to observe the vows, doesn't matter if you die also, the you still maintain, still retain that vows. Therefore, it is stated that with the causes for losing the vows, it also happens that they are not lost.
더 대야 되네 배는 아마 산지 좀 된데 시주고 qabla 근데 개론 근데지 이야기하게 두서지가 근데 차와 친구 이외 qab지라 실로한테 최자가 패나 말아 근데 공 추일라 패백이 바로라 근데 공기 다지 점샤 아긴나 근데 루지 두 루지 내지 인주송하래 근데 주연도 전에 공기 두 루이와 하마원에 두 루데 개론기 니티오라 근데 주송하래 근데 개론 실로네 최자 주나 패인도 전에 tene ta wala dru yoba hama wani igana yu yundu zane dru tila tesi ta nyo chen roji cha yu sarwa ti cha yundu zane dru ki tene gelong na so jamne gelong de songa re de sondu zane gelong de hlayu la tene jewa len sondu hlayu la jewa lambi kapsu ta kong shimpe songa rwa gelong ne pa shimpe ne lal jewa len songa re yina yang kurang huma tene miyul la gelong yimbe kapsu tene pechi domba la tsikuru tang guishab tang tenze ke tono domba tala pechi tong chenpo chene som dewe ke tene gelong chi indu zane kong yagi layu la che dewa ina ya tadong layu la gelong ke tene jencha tene sama ranshin ke tumne gelong ke ngubo tene chi yu dewe ke lingshi tene sanje ke ndurwe na som yung dewa te indu zane ngarang zo pena chi 다치 제와 노만에 단대기 제와 서ян다다 단단에 제와 치마스는 것도 제와 양은 양은 내데 양데 먼저 간디토는 제와 랭귀지는 파차군의 제와 랭귀지로 봐 파차단 대화 슈친부래 파차단 대화 슈친부 요도 전에 가상 공도 고발륜 그르슨 그르슨 숨버와 파차기 륜 코르데기 띠인디 메신디 나라 베나 게닝기 돈바텐데라 지금 문에 귀샤다 댐바 zigurdan denpa, di tohne genyi ki donpa yang taba jo sung deba jina, dene ba shimpubegi jiwa chima tabu jiga yang, ko tori ki luten ji tombaya de ten kewa re, tori ki luten ki ten du yang, dene karsa da hume ki pakcha ki wangi, dene genyi ki ngubu, ko rangshin ki cha deba ro ji cha yung yu, wo te yin du zane, den tanan dene ji den sung gungi, donpa tongji ki jyote, shewa ki donpa tonggi de sung gu yore de, ina donpa tonggu ma res, pena tenzo res, na da tenzo tona dene deshi na yung yore.
And the reason why Lord Jigten Sungin stated that is that, for example, during the time of Buddha, there is a story that there is one monk who went like during the time of the Buddha, the monk who went out from his house, and when he come back, when he was out, somehow there came a snake and crept under his bed. And while when this monk come back, so he disturbed the snake, and somehow the snake bite to this monk, and this monk passed away. And even after he passed away, he was being born in the like a god land, and because of his practice of maintaining the vows during the time of he was in the like in the human realm, and also also his respect to the vows and the practice or the preservation of the vows. Because of that, he was being born in like a heaven realm, and even at the heaven, he was with the form of the like kind of the monks because of his respect and his so forth. So therefore, it is stated that even if you are being born in the next life, even if you have a like kind of like you have an imprint in your mind stream, then it will impact you for your like, for example, novice monks also, if you die, but if you are being born as in the like kind of the higher lane, and at the same time you will receive the like kind of the form, your form as similar to that of your what you have done in the past. So therefore, it clearly proves that the it affects, and it goes on the gives the like kind of imprint to the next life. So this is how the Lord Jesus proved that with the causes of losing the vow, it also shows that it does not lose the vows. Still, you carry the vows. That means even if you die, you will not lose the vows because of having a respect for that.
Tene tegi jegi dorsong te, dorsong gubade, pambashine pula norchen sondo, tante tanda kongi de kita da jibare, kondo kasan kashe ki sondo zane, da genjin ki dombata u son dewe kansa jigi, tene yang ji shetan ki tono mejik se, simchen shin minra uchi se shewa ina, tela tene, tene genjin ki domba chasang tong lo re se ya, tene yang song gen yore. Tata nan tene ji ten songo kare songo yore se na, tene ma re es. Kanyin se na, ngarang so ki ju la, tene so jiba pangbe ki domba, ma jimba lemba pangbe ki domba, me zangwa jiba pangbe ki domba, ta tene ki dombe ring mangpo ji yu yu du sa ne, tene nganzu ki nonchur ki chawa chik chen yuwa ina, pena genyin chi ki mechik se suwa ina, 텐데기 왕기 소 쮸베기 동바데 다지 초라자 냠차차 송아이나 양 대마인바 메상와 쮸바 뽕 로임 뽕와당 대나신도 준 뽕와라소베기 텐데기 차이 동바데 줄에 된데그레스 이도 전에 판바시에서 와당도 판바시에서인도 소 쮸바 뽕 소주기 판바 마진벨렘베 판바 테네 로임 다 로임스나 야는 메상와 쮸바 게니데 게롱다 게스루이나 메상와 쮸바 세르와 테네 게니도 지나 로임 세르와 대담 테네 준시야 다 디제트가 자와시 세르와 디인도 텐데기 판바지고데 별은 노르진하시게 스타티 빼송게 빼가르송 버스는 메지기 저랑라 준노롱주야 여den기 양드네 메진다네 주 물텐데 야르샤바이나 저랑 별은야 윤기 고 사무 찍다는 주보래 거라 잘한다면 강바 요래 사차 요래 신가 요래 야 사무는 진다지는 당와이나 고 배제 장본적으로 고 물요 말 물도 메신다는 주 야시 요래 인도 전에 별로야 윤기 윤노롱주야 윤기 디나시레스 인도 전에 소주바 뽕외기 dombate tapo chola cha so ma yin yang ma jin ben ba pon we ge domba la so ba de ju le den de yore este indu zane pamba jik chungwa ge domba cha sang de me ba chek ma re so de song ba re
Now the ninth virtual verses. The four defeats are like a wealthy debtor. And what it stated is that, for example, in the same way, it talks about the four downfalls, four defeats or downfalls. Like, for example, if like a novice monk kills somebody else, or somehow there is a like kind of some scholars stated that all the vows that he accumulated were all lost, will be got lost or will vanish. But somehow it is stated that like sometimes when you get lost of the vow of the killing by killing, then you still have retained the vows for the practicing, the preservation of the like kind of like not stealing and so on and so forth. For example, if you talk about the like a novice, then it is known as the the sexual misconduct. But if you talk about the monks and nuns, then it's known as the pure sex. So you lose the vows for that. And it is stated that even if you lose one vows for the killing, but you still hold the vows, retain the vows of like like not stealing or like this. And it's something like for example, if you are kind of a rich person, you have money, but somehow you have lent your money to somebody else. But it means it's stated that though you have money, at the same time you don't have money because money is in somebody else's hand, so you don't have it. So therefore, in the same kind of this person who are wealthy person but who have money, but at the same time the money is not in his hand. In the same way, the person who practice, like even some vows were broken, but still he retained some kind of vows which related to some other like kind of not stealing or not telling lie or so forth. So it's like this some kind of this it is similar to this. So therefore, Lord Jiten Sungin stated that the four defeats are like a wealthy debtor.
야 다트네 디올라 durson 쭈바데 나지 송은 데 그냥데 토 송연도 와 다티 송도 자네 디기 가르송 거에서나 나서 남주야 상무 동탄 찍라 가려래 생도 다 돈바도지 쇼고요나 뭐는 상무야고 땅고래 해야지 왜냐 저랑 개념이 돈바쇼 투사래 말다 뭐 상무야고 땅고래 점생 가르치는 데서는 개념이 돈바쇼 차르기 지엘라 개념이 송자 돈바 차상지 송 마토바이나 지니 송자바기 가인 팽기 말아스 인도 저한테네 다 송투나 차상 송고래 송마투나 지금 이 송하게 펜도케 용 말에 인도 개념이 돈바 마주는 야그래서 야다 되게 삼로양 땅스기래 내가 라면 쓰기로와 다는 되는 지대한 송고 가르송 그래서는 텐데 말해스 제단 되는 개니 개수로 개long 간제지 있나야 산제기 숭자 숭자바다 되는 디송고린 디방자리 디랑자리에서 숭자바 차상화지 숭겐 숭 투야데 데스칼레카보로 와스 이 인류산에 드네 아직 당부거나 어당의 찍님으로 순금에 삼내 텐데신 레는 링마데 이거 넘바 램베거서 당의 직원에게 개인의 송자 강이나야 예술고 송자 강이나야 개롱고 송자 강이나야게 지 송기 삼베 그런 랭고레데 이는 무엇을 송의 값을 저한테는 차상 송 마토바 제네 찍니지 송바 이나야 대개야 타도 산적의 공부도야 그 차투그레스 대소만 타지고 송은 되냐데스
Now the Vajra verses. By keeping one vows, one will attain the result of nirvana. And what it is state is that, like, for example, usually what happens in our society is that when you are receiving the vows, for example, the receiving the vows of novice, or lay, or the monk novice, whatever, usually we have a saying that you should think carefully. Otherwise, if you don't practice well, it is no use, no point doing your receiving the vows or taking the vows. It is of the mistake. So this is how you refrain from receiving the vows and so forth. So therefore, what the Jiddu stated is that so it should be not like this because there is also the condition, the aspect, one aspect of protecting one vows. For example, if you couldn't observe all the vows, but somehow if you can observe one vows, for example, if you are receiving receiving the vows of novice monk or novice or novice monk, monks or nuns, whatever. But in the beginning, you take a motivation of our practice is very well, but somehow by the time you change your mind, you cannot protect it well. But somehow, even if you lose one or two vows, but still you are able to maintain some other vows. So this is how even one aspect of protecting the vows, it is possible that one will attain the result of nirvana.
데 송도 산에 가도 산노 가르탄고 그래서나 지대 송공기 딱 개념게 돈바타고 답변나 디 송제 찍찍고 마도 신다 송공 말에 찍찍고 송바 대가랑게 산제 고마 톰도 그래서 디게제 말인데 워낙 가르에서 인도 산에 저한테는 차창화지 송 마토바 이나양 당부처럼 내가 찍이하고 저 송당스 내가 찍디 양다바지 송도 좀 근데 갈래 내가 니 송도가 자용고요래 근데 숨 송도가 자용고요래 근데 이제 송도가 자용고요래 타마드네 공공 고민도 전에 차창화지 송도가 자용고요래 대인도 전에 근데 제우 산재기 고마 톰로고요래 대인자 당보 찍 송바되고 산재기 주 차로도 산재기 주 차송하래 그래서나 당보 찍 송도 받은 마송와이나 근데 니 송도 만도 근데 송송도 말와 이제 송도 말와 대지도 전에 찍네 야송도 전에 타마 차상화지 송도와의 차용거래 대인도 전에 드는 거지 소소가 누바다 뜨네 넘바는 거에 배 개침거래스 어디서 말해 빼는 한전 데려와 대기 신간다고 지를 빼셔와 있나 제 무슨 저거지 제발라 좀 망분 좀 고르와 이나야 토마 저 당부도 가르고 신까지 고르와 나라 로와 당분간에 신가 답사기 신까지 고요 이 신가 기준된 점인도 전에 신가 될 때는 저런 마음보다는 제 무슨 저거지 제약이 저 차투요 신가대 가르서는 저런 신가 유비 좀 생각 때문에 되니 제게 사원지 토야는 배준지기래 이 제게 사원의 신가되는 답네 다 디토로 루야게 추징 배준지기래 되니 디냠도 루야게 루징 배준 소용이래 이 지도 전에 되니 신가 사분 주 류 자상전 종이도 전에 나와 가시기 지가 건 잼부슨 소고지 투투거와 다 당보군의 신가다고 찍 매송하이나 파버도 신가대 매송하이나 되니 젠푸슨 소가 제대야기 주진데 매송하래 베티 난신도 당분간도 내가 찍양다 버지 송 톱송아이나 근데 되게 돈에 니송도 같아 송송도 같아네 내가 산지 그것도 그래 제가 대송 말해
So now, when we talk about the like, one will also able to attain the result of nirvana. We should think about this. The concept is that it doesn't actually means that by just observing one vows you will be able to attain the nirvana or Buddhahood or whatever. But what it means here is that, for example, if you in the beginning, if you protect one vows, then because of that, you would able to preserve the other vows, the two. Then, if you are able to practice the two, then with your capacity, then you would be able to do for the third vows. So therefore, gradually, with your capacity, with your kind of like motion, you could be able to practice all the vows. So because of you're practicing one vows, you are able to do the two. Because you're able to do the two vows perfectly, then you are able to do three, and after that you go on for all the vows to be able to practice well. So in the same way, for example, like in order to have a very like kind of the rice, a good rice, good the quality rice. First and foremost is we have to have the field where to grow the rice. So, for example, if you don't have the field, then no point of thinking about whatever the like possibilities of the rice. If you have a field to grow the rice, then there's a possibility of like looking for the seed. So if you look for the seed, if you have a seed in the field, then you'll gradually look for the water, and gradually look for the fertilizer. So if all these conditional factors were all conducive there, or come together, gathered together, then after some months, it's possible that you will be able to get a good rice or whatever. So in the same way, this is how it was stated here in the like kind of the 10th verses. By keeping one vow, one will attain the result of nirvana.
드네 배제 단다 돌송 주기보다 도송하다 돌송 주기보다 가르송 거스는 제단하지 가나마도 지송 거다 제단하지 가나마도 송도 전에 남주인드네 남들외기 중 전날라 가르송 거스나 니바텔라 리니시에 연구래 제베 가나마도와 세야 지당 랑신게 가나마도와 세 니송 연구와 디인도 전에 드네 벽이 개바 망치와지기 드네 다 자긴 개발형 요래 집에 가는만 도와서야 돼. 집에 가는만 도와는 망생기 망부 요래도 이나게 집에 가는만 도 망제와데 가르스나 빼나 난저 행동지 여바이나 꾸슈기 행동으로지 여바이나 디 꾸슈기 행동대 송주비 야보 지하게 지에도 실로네 되는 가도 쩌른다고 수제와데 쩌른다고 수제와이나 되니 된대기 쩌르드 초라 차와 지구기 행동 초라 차이 말와 이내 쩌르드 매와이나 델라테네 갈레갈레 행동게 되니 행동도 구마 쇼리아 당 행동도 심진진게 산로야기 닌카도 연구요로와 대인도 전에 집에 가는 만도와서야 돼 쩌르난 신지 랑신게 가는 만도와서인도 전에 당문에게 디 나는 유베게 되니 행동 동본라고 지가 선언단에 되니 제바당 집에 가는 만도와다 랑신게 카나마 도와 세티니보데 나드네지 카가 임반도 드네지 라 드시나는 거예요. 아 단단드네 지된 송거 가르 송거스나 제베 카나마 도와다 랑신 카나마 도와 세야테 민 카가레 스탄다지 바레스. 빼는 간준 참참 디세기로와 베게 돈의 쉬와이나 빠양 세기도 왕도 잠바 주제네 주제바트라 빠세기로와 양 롱바카시게 될 생양 세기도 띵르서는 고 센당 슈 야나빠 근데고 맹타대바지 그래데 된다 거는 너도 대가랑 찌임만 신도 제베 가는 만도 왔어야 되나 란신게 가는 만도 왔어야 돼 맹타대바 니 차용요레스 대마도 베 되게 차네 고준이를 제발 째요 말에 니가 돼 디바 메게와 임바 직거래 상대송 말에 제다랑시 카나마도 제세야.
Now the 11 virtual verses, the established and the natural misdeeds are the same. So like what it talks about is like, for example, there are two different kind, the like kind of downfalls. That is, one is the established or the prescribed one. Like Buddha said, this has to be done, this has not been done, or something like that. And one is the natural misdeeds. So usually in Tibet, in those days, not only in Tibet, but also in India, so there are different concepts on these 2 points. Somehow many like scholars, they said that the one which is prescribed or established vows is like a kind of fencing for the plants or trees, and the one which is the natural misdeeds are the like kind of the trees. And these two, these two are the different in nature. But somehow Lord Gyaltsen stated that these two things are not other than each other. They are in different names or in different form maybe, but they are same thing. How, for example, if you talk about the Tibetan, say about the pak means like kind of, the flower which is molded together, or this one, and sometimes it's known as the Zen. So both the pak and Zen means the same thing, though it has a different name. So therefore, in the same way, like the established or the natural deeds are actually the same thing. So this is what Lord Gyaltsen would say here, state here.
다데네 도송 중니 바테야 다다다 다 지과래 비동 타데 메지 지과 송도와 단 삼상은 주 디바세 지르와 테난신 드르베까바 있는 동화세 지지 레빈 그러와 테네 가시에 그 송인도 전에 디바세야 데 메게와라 고고레스 동화세야 데 동화 가시에 메게와래 가시에 메게와 말에 스팅도 디바도 동화니보데 가가 요레스 무슨 요레 단 지된 송공기 디바도 동화니보 대양 맹게 토네 디바당 동화서는 다 맹이 따와레스 가인서는 디바서야 돼 코라 주의 토너밍 따와레 동화서야 돼 지우 토너밍 따셔버레스 티인도 전에 돈이 다지 맹딱서 싸노당당 가게 돈 따셔버리 마도베 옌 된다기 전에 군이 제벌 요 말레스 가인서는 디바서인도 제단한테 개와당 계획인 제불라 뇌바친게 되고 디바서게 로아 지 다른데 먼저 세생화당 롱주 제바당 나차 매발라서 건데 오지나 계획인 제우로와 텔은 뇌바 칭칭들라 빅바스게 돼 미게월에 나똥와서인데 전에 된대기 빅바트는지 제제와이나 소 제제와이나 마지막에 제와이나 되긴 제우들라 먼저 가wan로 그래서는 녀송근이라 똥로 그래 tin도 똥와서는 다버와 근데 인도 전에 디바도 동화세 니고 들어야 타대요 말에 스콘존이 된지 거래 있어야 되는 말에
The Vajra verse, the 12th Vajra verse stated that vice and the downfall are not different but the same. So like it is actually almost similar to the 11th Vajra verses. And what is stated here is like, Lord, there are some scholars who talks about differently about the non-virtues and the downfalls. So here in the Tibetan word Dikpa, which means like kind of when they say it is in terms of not talking, about in terms of the causes, and the tuwa means downfall, means in terms of the consequences. So it's just a difference in different name given in terms of causes and one in terms of the consequences. Rather than that, it's actually the same thing. Like, for example, sometimes people may like kind of like showing like kind of harm to other people. So this is known as the like kind of the digpa, which means the when it in the terms of the causes. But somehow, for example, in the like, for example, if you are staying like a long life or whatever, if you are doing something good, then you will be being born as in like a fortunate lane, or if you're doing something bad, then you are being born as in an unfortunate lane. That means you are being born, or you're downfall. You go down. Like for example, if you kill some sentient beings, and because of that, if you are being born in the lower lane, then it's a consequences there. So what the Lord Jesus will state is that it is just a name, or which define in terms of the causes, and one which defines in the terms of the consequences, the cause and effect. So rather than that, there is nothing different. Both the downfall and the non-virtues are not different, but the same thing.
Tene dorje son chusumba kaba yega nawa ina la asete tandi nenga chimbo jire nazo namjun kare samgere sene pena sanje gi tan durwa la so pena la dedan de rigde che chou mares dedan de rigde che go res ta tende gi kaba ta nawa nyingurwa yana ganzo dikwa chiam meja sing kaba do dikwa ka nawa re gewan pusum chobar che sene gewan nawa dawa 다 간조 가르사는 상괴에서는 남주 산제기 까과 산제기 나와서도 전에 배제디 나와다 까바니보드 산제기 수행시한다고 지금 단계로 산제기 수행시한다고 지. 뒤인도 다는 데는 지된 성공 가르송거에서는 드르베나네 제 조금 말에서는 송자베기 달룽하게 메게베리도 상마한테 산제기 직과 까네 Tene te cheme chowa chawa tene ke mares. Sanjegi masungwe hune yang korang yeka res. Di yeka sayandi korang gi tuane ka shakwa. Mege wade mege wa korang gi ngu tuane ko dewe gi ju yinpa ka shio ko rangshingi sanjegi tu gu marete. Sanjegi oda dewe gi ju de gewa yinpa zuwa megewe dunghe gi ju de dikwa yinpa 산지기 zuejawa mare. Kanyasana dikwa megewa de koran dewegi ju yinpa de yene kaashawa re. Koran rangshingi kawa re. Tende yinza 산지기 kawa tenzu 산지기 kaashawa mare yeka res. Tichigre. Tene nawa yenang sonyo zane 산지기 je chogu mare sonyagi dikwa megewe rik tenzu ta gewa 산지기 je gugure 룩 gugure sonyo nangwe gewe기 rik tenzo te koran dewa yongyagi ju yinpati yene naware te koran ju korangi ngola yene ko dewegi ju yinpare mato pe sanjegi te dewe ju yinpa zuisheba te kemare te indu kawa yeka nawa yena nangasana te sunguyore te mato ngazo mangpo chigi karasanguyore sana sanjegi chu se chulu se chu se ya jingurwa nangbegi chu se ya te sanjegi zuisheba ndogo chigi 그와 산제 계시 된대진에 지 추의 마송원이나 배치 드니 추 권한게 내당대 근데 많이 배송으로 오지 왜냐 추의 담제가 아시 동반이래 시행도 전에 산제기 동인 대시 잡네 동이 차송와 난심마도 딩후나 동이 많이 배송으로 오지 근데 상당히와 때 말에스 인도 가과 예가래 나와 예나래 스테송바래
Now the 13th Vajra verses, when it comes to the 13th Vajra verses, the prohibitions are always prohibited and the permissions are always permitted. Now this is very important for the part here in this point. And what it means is that usually when we talk about the vows and the prohibited of the what is to be done and what is not to be done. So usually we think about these are all created by the Buddha. Something like, before Buddha, it was not happening. Or after Buddha, it was all invented by the Buddha, that all, like non-virtues should be abandoned, and all the virtues should be practiced and accumulated, and all the virtues which is the causes for the like kind of happiness, peace, and so forth are actually the invented by the Buddha, and the causes for that are invented by the Buddha, and also the one for the non-virtuous action, and it's are all invented by the Buddha. So like it's like, for example, we talk about the Buddha Dhamma. So we think about kind of all these kind of like prescriptive prohibition of the all this vow, or the protection of all this vow are actually mentioned by the Buddha. But whereas it's not something like that. What Lord Gyaltsen stated is that even before coming the Buddha, the one which is downfall or the non-virtues is always the non-virtues, and one which is permissible and it's accounted for the practice is always there for the practice. It's not that Buddha came and Buddha make it. It's not something like that. For example, when we talk about it, because of it's the Sanjay, it's a Buddha's teaching. So, and it's just invented by the Buddha. It is not something like that. And also when we talk about emptiness, like emptiness because of the Buddha, so we have like invented, or we have come to now talking about emptiness. It's not something like that. So emptiness and all these kind of things are already there. The virtues and non-virtues are already there. It's always non-virtues. It is always the kind of virtues. If that is virtues, all the time it's virtues. If it is non-virtues, all the time it's non-virtues. But somehow here, what Buddha did was, Buddha just discover the reality of the virtues and non-virtues. And that's how he just display, or he just like kind of show to the other sentient beings. That's the reality or the nature of reality. So this is how it is stated in the virtual releases. The prohibited are always prohibited, and the permissions are always permitted.
Pena nga zon deri wata tingsan rao chi ina nga zo di jini karbo da jini karbo ge rik tingzo sawa ina pen nugri singde degir watanda da di ngune lakche che shimju che du zane zubul pe nugi yuwe ge jimsen ngune yuwe dewa chirwa re de ina yang ti ku jimsen din reshe majabe nguen la jini karbo ge nga zo nugi yuwa ha mahu be nguen la yang kurang jini degi nga zo jik mangpo sawa ina degi nugi yuwa ko rangshin rwa de 마도 배 되게 누기 유바 하고 되니 이제는 제세 잡에기 제라 이제는 내가 친ken식 차왔는데 개말와 그 당고군에 주부로 그 뇌배 먹어라 주대반으로 직세로다 뇌배 먹어지 인대반으로 어디 나진 체인도산에 다단데 내야 개와다 디과세 리니보데 그 랑신기 나랑 졸라 뇌배 리인바지 랑신기 나랑 졸라 펜베기 리인 같은데 니 인도 전에 근데 얘가 이나서야 근데 지 중화를 띠인도 때 산적인 첸네 근데 산적인 나랑 손은 내시에 나와래 인도 가생한도 공도 쉬운 봐 산제의 제바보 말에서 산제의 뜸바보래서 시 쉬운 봐 어디 인도 다 산제의 까바보 말에 산제의 나와보 말에 인도 고랑 까바당 나와대 내시에 남게 산제래
And for example here, when we talk about the white sugar, usually the harmness of the things with the substance there in the white sugar is always there. And for example, if you don't know there is a harmness in the white sugar, and after you eating that, or after you using the white sugar, and after sometimes when you feel that, you came to know that there is a substance which can harm your like health, and it proves that it is not that after you using the sugar, the harm came. Actually, the substance for the harming is always there before you eat the sugar, already there in the sugar. In the same way, the virtues and non-virtues like for example, with the virtues, which is helpful, and with the non-virtues, which is harmful to you, is not invented by the Buddha. And Buddha is not a creator, like kind of as we have stated last time. Like for example, Buddha is not someone who is there to prohibit you not to do this, not to do that, or who is not the someone who is there to ascribe you to do, ascribe you to do this and that one. So what he did was he just came to realize the nature of reality and try to share the understanding of the reality. So that's how he was just sharing his knowledge, not that he is supposed to be like kind of inventing or creating, the objection, or putting like kind of opposing you not to do this or that, but he is just in a state of revealing the truth.
다들 디지라 도선 줍시바데 주지절본 로와찌라 제송도와 다 주지절보스도 산지 좀 된대래 근데 인도 다 탄다 공도 까과 얘가 나와 예나인 베좀 생각 때네 근데 산지 좀 된대기 양지 디범 매지 게워두 세야기 제바진 나와와 침지 사시엔 나와와 된도 사시엔 나와 대양 아 빼나 남바지불로 송제 원도 마인바 야나드네 자와당 쭈마지불로 송제 왔다고 마인바 도나 조란드네지 내가기 대화당 타르투기 대완 된켄지 있는 zon데 드네 조란조 디두고레 디빵고레 스네 산지기 송베 추데 심진 찔러 송베기 추지리 마도베 남바 겔러 송베기 추지 마레 스네 송바로와 다 계시 산지기 송바도 줍다 머줍라이데 계자 카가레 칼라 닌켄유나 두그레 산지기 송베 칼라 닌켄면 두구마로와 인도다 두드 머줍세야 되고 dumkengi kansangun rālegirwa. Sanje Korangi mune nye tene jesun drongkengi chawadang, zumadang, ta mecha tenzola nye di chuli shegi yendagi chili minsina sanjegi yewa tsawana chegi mare. Tendu zane, tene chuji jerbun rowa chili jesane yewa pang duguri, diwa pang guri sana tendegi sanjegi ta ndona chuyogi pungbu jeche shitong kare songba inaya tamche de tene lam 친질로 봐 빵을 제바 람 양다와 르르 제베기다 된대기 취제 땜바 인도 전에 어때 tene 심지 탐제를 되는 송제베 취지레스 데마도베 게르기 취들에 이렇게 말해서는 송바래
Now the 14th Vajra verses, it said that the king of Dharma established the Vinaya for beings in general. So usually we think that, like for example, if it is prescribed, it's always prescribed. And it is ascribed, it's always ascribed, or it's objected, or it's, like prohibited, then it's always prohibited. Because of that, the Buddha have given the teachings, or Buddha has given the teachings. So what the Buddha stated is that it is actually not only for the Buddhist practitioner, because it depends upon if you really want peace or happiness for the like kind of temporal peace and happiness, or the ultimate peace and happiness. It is a question of whether you want the ultimate peace and happiness, or the like kind of whether you need like it's not a question of whether you are Buddhist or non-Buddhist or whatever. It doesn't make sense here. So what Buddha said is, like for example, if whoever practice, even if he or she is not a Buddhist, doesn't matter. The fruit will be accomplished if you listen to the Buddha and if you practice what he said. And if you go through the path, then it is definitely, we are bound to accomplish the result. But when the Buddha gives the teaching, it's not just for the monks and nuns and who listen to the Buddha, but also for all sentient beings, because all sentient beings have like kind of whoever wishes So therefore, Buddha never make any demarcations. Like this is only for the one who listen to me or monks or nuns. But it is a natural phenomenon. It is a natural reality that all sentient beings, whoever practice that, could be able to receive the benefits from this. So therefore, it is stated that the king of Dharma established Vinaya for beings in general.
야. 다 된제임비 좀 생기. 딱고 놀지송 당보 등도 좀 생기네. 이바 등도 드시자고 그러다. 나든다 산지기 송비 취대 로와찔라 송바 임비 좀 생나 때네. 근데 놀지송 정화바다 지루반이 총아래. 그래서는 로와 강긴 대장 이바당 송의 평행에 끄는 중 송도 얻을 송 얘기. 근데 인도 단 로와 리죽 속이 있나야. 근데 준대기 라왈은 대바 왜냐 저랑 메게와 제바이나 로와 산제기다 메게와 제야요 말에 메게와 치는데 제우 동해다 어떤데 연결해서 그 준제기 남자시 송도 전에 계시 되는 대바이나 되라 술에이나 그 논주 연결해서 로와 관계 대장 일반 연결해서 되게 중 연결해서 되라 동해 연결해서 믹스에게 되는지 가시에 논주잖아 디바 메용와 니바 메용와 가시에게 니바 띠에서잖아요. 지구 친구 용이었는데 개요 말해서 주든 되고서야 되나 윤제라 모상이요 말다. 무슨 맨다고 지내야 직대에서 뭐 신바튼 소리 야보 제야다 뭐 메시바라 야보 메지 같은데 윤구로와 대나시바나 돈돈다고 지내는데 너와 돈도 그런 그룹 찍어이나 소바 찍어이나 직직 로바 제야 소바카가 있는 직직 네바 제야 되는 윤구로와 이제 윤제에서야 될 대요 말해. 딘두 되네 로가 관계되지 니바 용그레스 근데 계세양 수송와이나요 산지기 송바 난신전에 지다 미게와 주방외기 게와 주름네 된제기 지 쯤데 양타바죠 송대바이나 밀라이나야 평연 토그레 돈조이나야 평연 토그레 디 평연들 제발서 계획 말해스 송의 평연이 끊는 중세야 대송바래
15 and 16 Vajra verses actually they define the 14 and the 13 Vajra verses which describe about the 14 and 13 Vajra verses. And what it states is like, for example, whichever being transgrades the general Vinaya is at fault, then for example, doesn't matter whether you're Buddhist or whether you're not, or whether you're animal or whatever. If you commit the mistakes, if you make the mistake, then you are bound to face the results, which is the problematic, or which is the problem or the suffering. So in the same way, if you cultivate the causes of the which is beneficial or virtues or whatever, you are bound to face you're bound to receive the result, favorable results. So whatever it is being, for example, if you are keeping vows, or therefore, like if you keep a vows as stated by the Buddha, then there is a beneficial, whether you're human, whether you're not human, animal, or whatever, it doesn't matter. So therefore, it is stated that in the 15, whichever being transgrade the general Vinaya is at fault, and at the same time, the benefits of keeping vows also offer for everybody. It is same.
근데 되게 제라 들어선 집된 바래 때나 초가라 바 같이라 손도 다들 손도 전에 양강 되네 수요선의 평양 연결에 손도 다 텐데 있나 나도 무색이 개념이 domba쇼야 계속그 domba쇼야 텐데 지고서 말와 다고랑 신기 메게와 빵 개와 주도 되는 지로와 세상의 지음도와 양한테 가서는 지된 손도 텐데 말에스 나도 산지게 땜발아야 슈네 지다 라마 게웨신이 더 지금 domba쇼 초가 라라나 때는 dom바지 슈와이나 양한테 꽤 개침부레스 강에서는 나도 랑신기 개와 드대발레 밤자직지 켈렌지 제와이나 델라트는 나도 개와도 슈치와 드도와 당연히 담자 제차이다 그래서 그 심나 전수지 레기로와 다 담자 맞제와이나 야고 개와지 드르드 드초그레데 이나야 당가 담자는 개 제메들은 개 마루나인 디그레서 말로데 로체스기로와 이인도산에 산제게 땜발아야 슈네 내지 개념이 dom바이나야 계속 dom바이나야 dom바카레 이나 tunzu 쉬야게 초 같은 소로 때네 근데 dom바 소양한테 그 개침부레 해서 대송바래
In the 17 Vajra verses, for the Vinaya teachings, the ritual is especially important. So usually what happens here is that sometimes if it is same for everybody to practice and the same result, everybody gains that. So what is the point of having all this kind of ritual or the practice of receiving the method of receiving the vows and so forth is not required. And if somebody say this one, then the Lord Jesus will say that no, it is not like this. It is important to have the ritual, and which is very especially important. The reason why is, for example, if you if you practice, through the rituals, through the method and practice, if you receive the vows and if you make a commitment, then there is a strong sense of putting your effort there. You're giving like a chance of giving the effort there, and at the same time, it will refrain you from committing non-virtuous actions. Why? Because in your mind, in the core of your heart, there is something which pulls you back by thinking that, oh, I have to the vows, I have I've taken the promise, so I have to do that. It's not good to just be easy. So for example, if you didn't take the vows, then what usually we think is, oh, I didn't take the vow, it's okay, I can do relax, or I can take it easy. So therefore, in order to not to have this kind of condition, this kind of incidents or conditions. So therefore, when you take the vows of the novice or the novice monk or the whatever, so it is good to have the commitment or the promise through the doing the practice or through cultivating the like kind of the methods of doing all this, and therefore the Vinaya teaching, the ritual is especially very important.
앞에 트레이닝은 내 자기는 로라.
Last
그래서 너와 땡그 트레이닝이랑 참샤. 네 배치지마. 되는 사람인데.
That's all. So now we'll stop here. Then rest of that we'll do the next session. So now we'll do the like kind of the closing prayers.
유소남데 탐지세바니 돈에 니베라나 범지데 제가 난지 볼롱 추바이 세벤 솔 로완 로와쇼 라마 건강한 상와라 소르완데 조도 구체정와라 소르와 딜레 다신 제바라 소르완데 라마탄 자와 메바라 진제로 바위 치드란 쳔바 근도 상고 대양 대신데 대도 근제 주소 나로 개완데다 제란도 호이 상제 구소니 베생라던 주니 민주 뱀베 생라 겐데 메제 베생라 제드랑 호이 Malam Dramba Joy Dadam Konde Tam Jiji Dusum Do Saba Tam Yu Give Zawandi Dadam Simchen Tam Je Nyurdo Lana Mep Yang Tawara Zubi Chanchu Rinpo Je Tobra Gunji Shija Gunzi Gunchin Juji 天之内老王土之公伯人间不解天不生的协助对上公本人主人之长久生主人不解马解半解决了解吧娘吧没吧公内公的没玩说啊，天天买的，天天我都等着几万钱用。
Thank you, Kempola.
So see you next week. See you all next week.
Thank you, Khenchen. Thank you for your wonderful teaching today. And also thank you, Kempola, Lama Kuchok, Rocco, Susu, Alex, Victoria, Sonam, for your wonderful translation into English, Chinese, Vietnamese, Russian, Spanish, and German. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rinpoche. Thank you so much, Khenpola, and everyone.